I woke to the sound of voices in the kennel yard. The afternoon sun was warm against my fur, and I had been dreaming of running. The old dream, the one where my legs still worked, where the wind rushed past my ears, and I could feel the earth spring beneath my paws. It was always the same dream, and I always woke to the same stillness. The voices drifted through the chain-link fence. Ethan's first. I knew his bark before I even opened my eyes, that low, measured tone he used when he was being serious. He was talking to Mia. I didn't move. I didn't lift my head. Mia had been here for 3 months now. She was young, beautiful, and fast. Her legs were long and powerful, her coat sleek as polished metal. She moved like water flowing downhill. She moved like I used to move. Ethan always said she had good instincts. He said she reminded him of someone. I knew who. He's still fussing over her, Mia was saying, her voice carrying that slight edge she always had when she mentioned me. We're supposed to be training, and she just sits there in her little cart. I felt the familiar burn in my chest. The cart, the wheelchair, the thing that carried my useless hind legs, what was left of them, around like luggage. Ethan didn't correct her. I waited, but the correction never came. She's been through a lot, he said, and his voice was tired. Just tired. It's hard for her. Hard for her. Mia scoffed. She doesn't do anything. She just watches. Watch yourself, Mia. But his voice didn't have any real bite. The old Ethan, the dog who had once snarled at a handler who called me crippled, would have defended me with his whole body. He would have barked until his throat was raw. Now, he just sounded exhausted, like I was a chore he had to keep doing. Her legs, Mia started, and then she lowered her voice, dropping it to something almost intimate. What does it feel like when you have to touch them? I didn't move. I barely breathed, but my ears swiveled forward, searching for every sound, every tremor in his voice. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Like dead things, he finally said, just dead weight, soft and useless. When I have to clean them, when I have to lift her, he stopped and I heard him swallow. I dream about them sometimes. The way they look, the scars, the way they just hang there. IT terrifies me, that IT disgusts me. My heart, no, my chest, tightened. A strange ringing filled my ears. I couldn't move. I couldn't bark. I couldn't even whimper. Disgusts you, Mia repeated, and there was something hungry in her voice. Pleased. Yes, it makes me sick. Every single night. I don't know how much longer I can do this. The world tilted. I pressed my nose to my paws, forcing myself to stay quiet, to stay still. Don't make a sound. Don't let them know you heard. But inside, something was breaking. I remembered the day I lost them. I remembered the weight of the steel kennel beam across my back, the screaming pain, the absolute terror. I remembered pushing Ethan out of the way with every ounce of strength I had left, because if anyone in this world deserved to live, it was him. He was everything to me. We had been partners for 3 years, that we had found lost children together, that we had pulled people from rubble, that we had been a team. And when the beam fell, I didn't even think, that I just moved. I shoved him clear with my shoulder, and the steel came down on my hindquarters, and I felt my spine break in 2 places, and I knew that my life had changed forever. I was the best dog in the unit, the fastest, the smartest. They called me the angel of the search grounds. I had 100 ribbons and a portrait on the wall. And then I had nothing but a cart and a handler who promised he would never leave. From now on, I will be your legs, he'd said. He'd pressed his nose to mine. I will never leave you. I swear it on my life. And I had believed him. I had believed him through the surgeries, the sleepless nights, the months of recovery. I had believed him when he sat beside me while I sobbed into my paws. I had believed him when he brought my food, carried me outside, curled around me at night to keep me warm. I had believed him. And now I knew. He dreamed about my legs. He saw them in his nightmares. They disgusted him. Did you hear something? Mia asked suddenly, her ears pricking. Ethan went rigid. I could almost feel his eyes scanning the kennel yard, trying to see if I had been awake. I kept my body perfectly still. I had spent 2 years learning to fake sleep. I could have fooled a lie detector. I don't think so, he said. It's just the wind. But I knew he was nervous. I knew he was looking for me. And I wanted to die. Not dramatically. Not with a scream. I just wanted to sink into the floor and never wake up. To disappear. To stop being a burden, a nightmare, a thing he had to drag around. The thing I'd done to save him, the thing I'd given up everything for, wasn't a gift. It was a prison. For him. And he hated me for it. I waited until their voices moved away, and then I opened my eyes. The afternoon light was still warm, but it didn't touch me. I felt cold all the way through, and I decided for the first time in 2 years that I would try to do something. Not for him, not for anyone else. For me, I would learn to stand. I would learn to walk. I would learn to be whole again, even if whole meant something new. And I would never, ever let him see me cry again. I used to be able to run for miles. I remember the wind in my face, the mud beneath my paws, the rhythm of it, left, right, a steady heartbeat that drove me forward. My name was Cinder, and I was the fastest dog in our search unit, maybe in the whole region. They trained us from the time we were pups to me and Ethan, the border collie. We were partners from the start. He was smart, smarter than any dog I'd ever known. He could follow a scent through water, through dirt, through the chaos of a collapsed building, but he was cautious. I was the bold one. I was the one who would leap onto rubble, who would break through barriers, who would scream and bark and claw until we found who we were looking for. They called me fearless. That was before I understood what real fear was. On the day of the accident, we were running a training exercise at a simulation in the old steel structure. It was meant to test our ability to navigate unstable spaces. Handlers would hide, and we would find them. Ethan was faster than me when it came to scent, but I was faster when it came to action. When the structure started to groan, I knew something was wrong before anyone else. The handlers were shouting. The ground was shaking. And then I saw the steel beam above Ethan's head, the way it was twisting, the way it was about to fall. I didn't think. I just pushed. And I watched the beam come down on me. For a moment, there was no pain. There was just a flash of white, and my whole body went numb. I remember thinking, I can't feel my legs. That's strange. And then the pain hit me, and I screamed. I don't remember much from the hours afterward. I remember Ethan's frantic barking, his nose pressed against my neck, trying to wake me. I remember the handlers' voices, the sirens, the taste of blood in my mouth. I remember waking up in the hospital vet clinic, and the emptiness. It was like someone had cut me in half. They told me they'd amputated my back legs. The damage was too severe. They said it was a miracle I survived it all. I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt like a ghost that had once been a dog. The weeks after the accident were dark. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to see anyone. I just lay in my kennel, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe the next time I closed my eyes, I wouldn't have to wake up. Ethan found me. Every day, he found me. He would bring my food, press his head against my shoulder, and whine until I took at least a few bites. He would bark at the handlers until they took me outside. He would curl up beside me every night, his warm body pressed to my side, his heartbeat a steady presence in the darkness. I will never leave you, he'd say. Not in words, of course. We don't speak like humans do. But the meaning was clear. His every gesture screamed devotion. His eyes told me I was safe. At first, I couldn't feel anything. The depression was a fog. But slowly, so slowly, he pulled me back. Look at me, he would say with his eyes, his tail swishing with that particular rhythm he used to comfort me. You are still the same. You're still Cinder. You're still beautiful. And I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something was wrong. Even early on, I could sense it. Sometimes, when he was supposed to be cleaning my wounds, his ears would flatten. His tail would go still. He would hesitate for a split second before touching me. I told myself it was just sadness. He was grieving for me, for what I'd lost. That's all it was. I told myself that for a long time. Mia arrived in spring. I was dozing in the sun, my wheelchair parked in the same spot it always was, when I heard the sound of paws on concrete. I lifted my head and saw her, a young Doberman, all long legs and gleaming black coat. She moved like something from a dream, every motion fluid and effortless. I knew instantly what she was. She was what I had been. She was the new star. Everyone in the unit came to watch her first training session. Her handler guided her through the obstacles, and she flew over them. I saw her clear a 6-foot fence without even breaking stride. I saw her sprint 50 yards and return in seconds, and I saw her work a scent line and find the target without a single wrong turn. I watched her perform the routine I'd done 1,000 times, and I had to turn away. It wasn't her fault. She didn't know what she was stepping into. But watching her was a kind of slow torture. Ethan watched her toot, AT first. He was just professional, checking out the new talent, offering advice. But as the weeks passed, I saw his attention shift. His ears would perk when she entered the yard. His tail would wag. He would walk to her, greet her, and then, only then, come back to me. I smelled her on his fur. Her scent was all over him. And every time I detected it, the pain in my chest grew a little deeper. It wasn't just that she was whole. It wasn't just that she could run. It was that he seemed to enjoy being with her. He didn't look tired when he was with her. He didn't sigh. He didn't flinch. With me, there was always the duty, the obligation, the heavy weight of the promises he'd made. With her, there was something else. Something that looked a lot like happiness. And I told myself it was nothing that I told myself I was being jealous and paranoid. I was the wounded dog, the one who couldn't run, the one who needed to be carried everywhere. Of course, he was spending time with someone who could actually be a partner. That was just the way things were. But then I started to notice the small things. The way his eyes would linger on her long after she'd turned away. The way he would find excuses to go where she was, getting water, stretching his legs, checking the equipment. The way his voice changed when he talked to her, lighter, freer. The way he never sounded burdened. And I started to realize that the version of Ethan I'd been holding on to, the devoted dog who never stopped believing in me, was fading. I'd been clinging to a ghost. The real Ethan had been slipping away for a long time, and I hadn't noticed. Because I'd been too busy trying to survive. Because I'd been too busy believing. Because if I admitted the truth, I would have to face what it meant, that everything I'd sacrificed, everything I'd given, had been for someone who was slowly learning to hate me. When I first met Ethan, I was still a pup. We were placed in the same training kennel, 2 new recruits from different litters. I remember the first time I saw him. This small, black and white ball of fluff with the most serious eyes I'd ever seen. He was watching me, his head tilted, his ears pointing forward, taking me in with an intelligence that was almost unsettling. You're a fast one, he said with a tail wag. Not in words, we don't speak that way. But I could read him like a book. I heard about you. The handlers say you're going to be the best. You don't know me yet, I said back, flattening my ears in mock humility. But I'm willing to let you try. He gave a quick, playful bark, a challenge. We rushed at each other in the kennel yard, tumbling into a heap of fur and paws, neither of us giving an inch. I nipped at his ear, and he rolled me over, and I came up laughing, my tail flying. We became fast friends. We were partners in everything: training, play, sleep. Where I was bold, he was clever. Where I rushed, he planned. We balanced each other perfectly. And somewhere along the line, the friendship turned into something else. I remember the night it happened, one of those rare moments when the whole unit was quiet, and we were alone in our kennel. I was grooming his ears, a habit I developed in those early days, and he turned to me, his muzzle barely a whisker away. I think I love you, his eyes said. It was in the way his breath caught, the way his ears pressed back, the way his tail betrayed him with a slow, nervous wag. I didn't say anything. I just kissed his nose with a lick, and we fell asleep curled together like 2 halves of a whole. That was how it was for 3 years. We were the golden pair. The handlers talked about us like we were a legend. The border collie and the German shepherd who could find anyone anywhere. I never needed anything but him. My feet on the ground, his nose in the wind. That was all. That was enough. And then the beam came down and I lost my legs and I thought, but he's still here. He's still with me. I didn't lose everything. I still have him. I thought that for 2 whole years. But I was wrong. I'd been wrong all along. I didn't sleep that night. After I'd heard Ethan and Mia talking. After I'd heard the word disgusts echo in my head like a broken bell, I lay in my kennel and watched the moon climb across the sky. I was tired. I had been tired for 2 years. Tired of the wheelchair, tired of being carried, tired of the way people's eyes slid off me like I was something they didn't want to see. But under the exhaustion, something else was stirring. Something ugly. Something defiant. If he was disgusted by me, I wasn't going to sit here and let him see it. The next morning, after the handlers fed us and left for their morning meetings, I dragged myself out of my kennel. The old wheelchair, the custom cart the vet had built for me, was sitting in the corner of the equipment shed. IT was dusty. I hadn't used it in months. I was afraid to use it. The first time I tried, I'd fallen so hard I blacked out for a few seconds. But I was more afraid of staying here. I pulled myself across the floor, my front legs doing all the work, my stump dragging behind me. I reached the cart and spent a long time staring at it. It was ugly. The harness looked uncomfortable. The whole contraption seemed like a joke. But I gritted my teeth and strapped myself in. The first attempt was a disaster. I tried to push forward, but the wheels didn't catch, and I skidded sideways, crashing into the wall. The impact sent shockwaves up my spine. I yelped in pain, but I didn't cry. I'd stopped crying. I straightened myself out and tried again, and again, and again. By the time the sun was high, I had made it across the floor exactly 3 times. Each trip took a minute and a half. Each trip left me exhausted, trembling, and spotted with sweat. But I had done it. I had moved. On my own. That night, when Ethan came to find me, I was already back in my kennel. The cart returned to its corner. I pretended to be asleep. He stood at the door of my kennel for a long time, watching me. I could feel his eyes on my fur, feel the weight of something unsaid. And then he left without making a sound. I didn't open my eyes until I heard his footsteps fade away. Then I looked up at the stars, and I made a promise. I'm going to walk again. Maybe not the way I used to. Maybe with this stupid cart. Maybe with some other contraption. But I'm going to walk. And when I can walk, I'm going to leave this place. And if you want to follow me, you'll have to learn to love me again. But I don't think you'll try. Because I think you already stopped. 2 weeks passed. I kept practicing. Every morning before the facility woke up, I dragged myself to the shed, strapped into the cart, and forced myself to move till I felt that I crashed. I scraped my shoulders against the concrete until they bled. But I kept going. And slowly, agonizingly, I got better. I could make it across the yard. I could turn. I could go forward and backward without losing my balance. I was still slow, still clumsy, but I was moving. And then one day, the morning sun was just beginning to rise, and I was halfway across the yard in my cart when the shed door opened. I froze. Ethan stood in the doorway. He stared at me. His eyes went wide. Then his brow, the fur above his eyes, furrowed in a look I recognized. Anger. Cinder, he barked sharp and cold. What are you doing? I didn't answer. I just stood there, harnessed to the cart, my whole body trembling. Look at yourself, he said, pacing toward me. You're bleeding. Your shoulder's raw. Do you have to torture yourself like this? The word hit me like a physical blow. Torture. I thought of all those nights I'd lain in the darkness, wondering if he still loved me. All those times I'd cried myself to sleep. All those memories of the dog I used to be. And now he was calling this trying, torture. I wanted to bark. I wanted to growl. I wanted to tell him everything I'd been holding inside for months. Instead, my body did something I couldn't control. I laughed. It came out as a strange, wheezing sound. Not a bark, not a growl, but a bitter, broken laugh. It was the ugliest sound I had ever made. And he stopped dead. Don't, he said, his voice wavering. Don't do that. Do what? I said with my eyes. I didn't speak words. I couldn't, but I didn't need to. Every dog knows what those looks mean. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said. I just want to take care of you. You don't want to take care of me. I replied with my posture, my flattened ears, my rigid tail. You're disgusted by me. Ethan flinched. It was the smallest movement, but I caught it. Please just go back to your kennel, he said. This is unnecessary. There's no reason for you to push yourself like this. Because you like me helpless, I said with my stance, my refusal to back down, my teeth bared just slightly. You like being the hero. You like everyone seeing you as the saint who takes care of the crippled dog. Stop it. He was pleading now, and it made me sick. Tell me the truth, I said with my eyes. When you look at my legs, do you really feel disgust? Ethan's jaw worked, but no sound came out. And in that silence, I got my answer. I turned around, slowly, carefully, using all the skills I taught myself over the past 2 weeks, and began to will myself away. Cinder, wait. No, I said, the word in a growl, clear as clear could be. Don't follow me. Don't speak to me. He started to follow, and I stopped. Don't make me bite you, I said, because I will. And for a moment I saw it, the fear in his eyes, the uncertainty. He didn't know this version of me, this angry, broken, determined creature who'd been sleeping under his nose for months. He didn't know me at all. You're really going to leave? He asked softly. I'm going to walk, I said, with or without you. And when I can walk, I'll be gone. You'll never have to see me again. I left him standing in the middle of the yard, his ears flat, his eyes full of something that looked like grief. But it was too late for grief. It was too late for everything. The next day, Mia was in our kennel. Not our kennel. It had never really been ours. It was just where I stayed. But she was in there and Ethan was standing beside her, watching me. I didn't ask questions. I knew what I'd heard. I knew what it meant. This is temporary, he said. She needs a place while her kennel gets repaired. I looked at Mia. She was beautiful. Her coat gleamed. Her legs were long and powerful. She was everything I'd lost in one sleek, perfect package. And I smelled his scent all over her. Fine, I said. Ethan blinked. Fine. Feeny. She can stay. He stared at me like he'd expected a fight, like he was disappointed not to get one. I don't want to cause trouble, Mia said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. If you want me to go. You heard me, I said. Stay. I didn't have the energy to fight. I didn't have the heart. But I had something else. Something I hadn't had in a long time. A plan. That night, when Ethan and Mia were asleep, I dragged myself to the shed. I strapped into the cart. I practiced until my legs, what was left of them, were screaming. And then I practiced more. Because one day, I was going to walk away from here. And I wanted the last thing he saw to be the back of my head. I wanted him to know I'd survived. The message came at night. A dark shape, moving outside the fence. A whisper in the wind. A phantom that left traces of strange scent. Medicine, antiseptic, something warm. I had been awake, staring at the ceiling, when I felt it. A presence. A shadow. And then a soft sound, like the scrape of a foot on gravel. I looked toward the gate. A human was standing there. But not just any human. Dr. Harrison. He'd been one of the vets who'd worked on me after the accident. He'd built my cart. He'd held my head while I screamed. Now he was crouching at the gate, his face half lit by the moon, holding out his hand. Cinder, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I've been watching you. I didn't move. You've been practicing. I've seen you. The way you will yourself across the yard. The way you're getting faster. I lifted my head just a little. I came here to tell you something, Dr. Harrison said. I'm leaving the facility. I'm going to start my own practice. A place for special needs animals. Dogs who've lost legs, cats who can't see, rabbits with broken spines, all of them. He paused. I'm going to tell them you need to come with me, he said. I'll make it happen. My heart, if I had a heart that could still beat this hard, started to pound. And if you can't make it happen? I asked with my eyes. I can, he said. I have pull at the board, and I've seen what you can do. He smiled, just a flash of teeth in the darkness. I'll see you soon. Keep practicing. You're doing incredible, girl. And then he was gone, melting back into the night like he'd never been there. I sat in my kennel alone, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Hope. 3 days later, it all came crashing down. Ethan and Mia were in the yard, and I was in my kennel watching. Mia was doing a demonstration, running through the agility course like it was nothing, leaping, turning, sliding. And every eye in the place was on her. I saw Ethan's ears, the way they angled toward her, the way his tail wagged. And then I saw something else. A small wound on Mia's leg. A scratch, barely visible. How'd you get that? Ethan asked. Mia looked at her leg, then at me. She did it, she said. Cinder. I was walking past her kennel, and she lunged at me. Ethan's head snapped in my direction. His eyes were hard. Don't lie, I said with my body, a growl in my throat. I've never left my kennel. I can't leave my kennel without my cart. I don't know what you want me to say, Mia said, her voice all hurt and innocence. She bit me. She doesn't bite, Ethan said slowly. She's never bitten anyone in her life. But there was something in his voice. Doubt. She's changed, Mia said. She's jealous. She doesn't want me here. And then Ethan did it. He came to my kennel. He didn't speak. He just stared at me. I stared back. Did you bite her? He asked finally. No, I said with my eyes. I didn't. I don't know, he said. You've been different. Angry. You've been practicing at night, which is against the rules. For what? I asked, the question barking out of me. For trying to get better? For not wanting to be a burden? She's jealous, Mia said, appearing at his side. She knows you don't love her anymore. She can't handle it. I looked at Ethan. I searched his face for something. Anything. What are you going to do? I asked with my stance. Ethan looked at me, then at Mia, then back at me. Stay away from her, he said. If you can't be civil, stay in your kennel. And then he turned away. I sat in silence for a long time. And then I dragged myself to the front of the kennel and I howled. Just once. A long, low sound that echoed through the whole facility. I wasn't crying for him anymore. I was crying for myself. For all the times I'd been stupid, all the ways I'd been weak, all the years I'd wasted wishing for a love that had never been real. I was done. Dr. Harrison came again that night. He was a shadow among shadows, his boots soundless on the gravel. I felt him before I saw him. Cinder, he whispered. The papers are ready. I'm taking you tomorrow. I looked at him and I couldn't speak. I didn't need to. You've been doing the work, he said. You've been getting stronger. I know you can do this. He paused. There's one thing I need to tell you before I take you to. I saw something today that I saw the way Ethan and Mia were talking, that I saw the way he looked at you, and I realized he stopped. I think you're right about everything. I didn't answer. But I also know something else, he said. He was the one who called me to get you out of here. He told me you needed a better life. He told me he was going to do the right thing. I snarled. The sound tore out of me before I could stop it. Oh, I know, Dr. Harrison said, his voice gentle. I know he's not a good dog, but he did one good thing. He let you go. I sat in the kennel, trembling. He told me he was keeping you here because he was afraid of what the handlers would say, afraid of the shame of giving up a wounded dog, but he was tired, oh tired, and he didn't have the guts to do it himself. So, he asked you, I said with my eyes. He made you the bad guy. Maybe, Dr. Harrison admitted. But Cinder, what he did isn't important anymore. You're leaving, you're going to have a new life, a better life. And he's going to stay here, trapped in his guilt, until he finds some other dog to save. I was quiet. And when that happens, when he does that to someone else, you'll have made the choice that he never could. You'll have chosen yourself. I looked up at the man, the human who had never given up on me, the one who saw me, not as a burden, but as a survivor. When do we go? I asked with my posture. Tomorrow, he said, at dawn. And for the first time in 2 years, I slept without dreaming of running. Dawn came. I was ready. Dr. Harrison appeared at the gate with a collar and a leash. The handlers were still asleep. The facility was quiet. I had loaded myself into my cart, the same cart I'd learned to use, and I wheeled forward. Ethan was there. I don't know why. Maybe he'd sensed something. Maybe he wanted to watch. Maybe he just wanted to say goodbye. Cinder, he said, his voice soft. I'm sorry. I didn't look at him. I know you heard what I said. I know I hurt you, and I can't undo it. I stopped. I turned to face him. You hurt me, I said with my posture. But you didn't break me. I don't expect you to forgive me. No, I said. I don't forgive you, and I don't want you to be my legs anymore. He flinched like I'd bitten him. Because I've been walking by myself, I continued, and I'm a lot better at it than you ever were. I turned away, and I started to wheel forward. Cinder, wait, he said, stepping forward. Don't follow me, I said. This is my path, and you're not allowed on it. I kept going through the gate, past Dr. Harrison's waiting vehicle, and I didn't look back. The farm was sprawling, green, and full of life. Dr. Harrison had a dozen dogs and cats, all with some kind of disability. 3-legged retrievers, blind terriers, a cat with paralyzed back legs who used a tiny cart, and me. I was the oldest, the wisest, the one they all looked up to. When the new arrivals arrived, scared, broken, uncertain, I would approach them slowly, let them smell me, and then show them how I moved. See, I told them with my gait, my posture, my quiet patience. You can do this. We all can. My cart was no longer a symbol of weakness. It was a tool, a thing I could use to do the thing I loved most, run. Not as fast, not as far, but fast enough, far enough. And there, on that farm, I found something I'd been looking for without knowing I was looking. A family. They didn't care about my past. They didn't care about what I'd lost. They just cared about what I could give. And I could give a lot. I helped the other dogs learn their carts. I comforted the ones who woke up crying from surgeries. I ran alongside the young ones, showing them that being different wasn't the same as being broken. And at night, when the stars came out, I would lie in the grass and think about what I'd left behind. Ethan, Mia, the facility, the life that had wanted to break me. I didn't hate them anymore. I didn't love them. I just didn't think about them at all. Because my story wasn't about what I'd lost. It was about what I'd found. I found my legs again. Not the ones I'd been born with, but the ones I'd built for myself. And I found something else. I found me.